Communications are on mute or vibrate, please.
I hope where's Balvin?
Good evening and welcome to our 2022 Sault Ste. Marie Ward 2 Forum. Tonight's forum is being held in council chambers at the Ronald A. Irwin Civic Centre. My name is Jennifer Rushton. I am the Vice President for Plato Testing and a proud Chamber of Commerce Board member. I will be acting as your MC for tonight's forum. We wish to acknowledge that we are holding this meeting on the traditional, territorial, and ancestral lands of the Ojibwe people from Garden River and Batchewana First Nations, as well as the Métis people. To the Anishinaabe people, this sacred and spiritual place has been known since time immemorial as Boating. We wish to honor the original people on this part of Turtle Island as we recognize their homelands in the spirit of partnership and reconciliation. As part of their ongoing commitment to our local community, Algoma University, the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce, and SooToday have partnered to present tonight's forum. I would now like to call on our moderator, Dr. Trevor Cheer, Associate Professor of Political Science and Chair of the Department of Law and Politics at Algoma University.
Thank you. And before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone here in person that if you haven't already done so, please either turn off your phone ringers or set them to silent. I would like to run through the format for tonight's forum. All candidates on the ballot for October 24th election were invited to take part tonight. Seating and question order for the candidates was decided by a random draw prior to tonight's broadcast. Similarly, questions and their order were decided before tonight's broadcast and prior to the candidates' draw. So the first respondent to each question will be based on luck of the draw. Questions will be posed tonight by students currently enrolled in political science and law and justice programs at Algoma University. Thank you to Sakshi Bagadia, Balvin Kaur, and Nadine Roach. Thank you also to our timer tonight, law and justice student Keegan Galt. Once a question has been posed, each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. At the end of the allotted time, their microphones will be turned off. With each new question, a different candidate will respond first. I would like to remind all candidates of a few ground rules. Profanity and interrupting candidates who have the mic won't be tolerated, and at any point I may request a candidate to stay on topic. At the end of our question period, each candidate will have 2 minutes to provide closing remarks in which we invite candidates to speak a little bit about their leadership style and how they will help ensure good governance on City Council. We would like to thank and welcome the candidates who are joining us this evening in our Ward 2 forum. Luc Dufour, Dennis Murphy, Lisa Vezeau-Allen, and our fourth candidate in Ward 2, Nick Armstrong, sends his regrets. He was not feeling well and could not be here tonight. At this point, we will move to our first question, which was supposed to be asked by one of our Algoma University students, but I think they may have left the room not knowing it was such a quick turnaround between the Ward 1 and Ward 2 debates. So I will ask the first question on mic right now. The first question tonight is, what will you do to improve Sault Ste. Marie's economy, create more jobs and opportunities, and make this city an attractive place to do business? Our first respondent tonight for question 1 is Dennis Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Sault Ste. Marie has to be open. We need new business. Looking around, taking a look around, see what kind of businesses are out there, maybe giving them a tax break to come here. We definitely need more business to come. There's a million ways of doing it, and shutting the door to what wants to come here in Sault Ste. Marie, that's Sault Ste. Marie's history. Algoma Steel is a big cookie here, but it's not the only cookie in the jar. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
Good evening. There's already been some amazing work being done on behalf of both council and staff. One in particular is the New to the Sioux that work-life balance initiative with the new logo that definitely has been attractive to a lot of Southern Ontario folks. I remember shortly after the logo was established, I was at a conference in Toronto and I was passing out my business card and people were like, "Oh, I love your logo." I said, "Well, thank you. You need to come move to Sault Ste. Marie." And I think it's about us telling our stories. So I have boomeranged back and forth from Sault Ste. Marie. I'm a Sioux native 4 times. I've been fortunate to live in Windsor. I did a stint in London, England, and also in Boulder, Colorado. So I think it's about all of us telling our stories better about why we are here and how we can grow and build here. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that when we're looking at initiatives that are happening. Plaza, for one. The investment in Plaza is going to be so multifold in terms of economic growth and development. Thunder Bay invested about $21 million in their Plaza downtown development, and that has now increased over $100 million into private and public investment. So it's about taking those infrastructure things that we're doing and creating incentives and really telling our story better. But I think a lot of it is going on with that whole work-life balance, and especially post-pandemic. I think that's something we can build more leverage on moving forward.
Thank you. Next is Luc Dufour.
Thank you. Over the past term of council, I've been very proud to, along with the rest of City Council, have helped support a number of companies, including Plato Testing, Tenaris, Algoma Tubes. We need to continue to support these kinds of companies in their operations in Sault Ste. Marie and ones who want to locate here as well. There are 3 things that I think a lot of companies are looking for in a city to move to. One of those things is affordable housing, the next is an inclusive community, and the last is a vibrant downtown. When it comes to affordable housing, I have also taken direct action on City Council to help to keep up our property standards here in Sault Ste. Marie and to make life more difficult for absentee landlords who are not investing in their properties. In terms of an inclusive community, as my co-councillor Lisa Vezeau-Allen pointed to, we undertook a very modern and nice new branding exercise, and we have continued to support things like the Pride flag raising, the country flag raisings, and other cultural festivals to help people feel like they are a part of Sault Ste. Marie. And on the last point, a vibrant downtown, many companies are looking for a good quality of life for their employees. And a vibrant downtown is a huge part of what attracts those kinds of people to live in a city. The Downtown Plaza investment, I'm really excited for the new Mill Market building, which I think is a very popular attraction in Sault Ste. Marie. These are the types of attractions that will help companies see Sault Ste. Marie as an attractive place to locate. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Algoma University student Nadine Roach.
Good evening. What will you do to ensure a reasonable minimum standard of living for people in Sault Ste. Marie, including income security, access to affordable quality housing, and food security?
Our first respondent for question 2 is Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
Thank you, Nadine. I first want to bring up food security. There was an initiative through the mayor's office several years ago, Every Breakfast Counts. I'm now a very proud committee member. And Every Breakfast Counts provides lunches for kids that are at summer programming in the hubs for July and August. It was noted that for some kids in certain areas, they were not receiving adequate food. And as someone who's worked at Big Brothers and Big Sisters in the Boston Street Hub, I certainly understand that issue. So this summer, we gave out approximately 8,500 lunches through the 2 summer months with collaboration with Harvest Algoma, Algoma Family Services, our own Parks and Rec staff. So in terms of food security, collaborations and understanding where we need to bring food to people is really, really important, and it really needs to start with our young people. They need to be nourished and they need to have a good start. So a good start is a big part of that food security piece. In terms of standard of living, access to housing and income, I currently sit on the DSAB board, and not just access to affordable housing, but supportive housing is something that's really, really important for a healthy community. We see a lot of folks that are really dealing with some homelessness and addiction issues, and we've put forth an ask for 40 more affordable housing units, and that will make a definite impact.
Thank you. Next is Luc Dufour.
Thank you. The first aspect of your question that I'd like to address is food security, Nadine. Harvest Algoma has actually been one of the really cool success stories of Sault Ste. Marie, and not a lot of people know, but a lot of their seed funding actually came from the Sault Ste. Marie Social Services Administration Board, where they continue to receive some support every year for their efforts. These are just part of the ways that your local social services board has helped to support food banks and other social services organization, sometimes even just by buying food directly during the pandemic. The next aspect of your question, protecting the quality, security, and affordability of rentals and housing in Sault Ste. Marie. Again, the Social Services Administration Board has moved significantly on directly protecting attainable rents by actually owning directly the asset in Sault Ste. Marie. So we protected attainable rent in a very real and direct way here over the past 4 years. And we've also completely rebuilt and renovated our entire shelter system with generational historic levels of investment that Sault Ste. Marie has never seen before. We come this May, we'll have completely rebuilt both of our shelters, spent over $12 million on that, achieved fair and equitable wages for our shelter workers to try to create a floor through which the most vulnerable citizens in our community do not fall through. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Dennis Murphy.
There's an affordable housing crisis across our city because of the council's decisions not to include affordable uses or units in our new buildings. Housing is also an election issue because rent prices are on the rise. High rent is a price tag many households can't afford. High rent prices leave less income for food, utilities, medical expenses, clothes, and other costs. The growing cost of the housing are forcing more people, including our seniors, to choose between paying rent and buying food. We need at least 30% low-income housing in these new builds. Affordable housing equals affordable living. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the next question. To get around the city, cars, trucks, buses, and bicycles need good roads. What are your planning priorities for the city's roadways? And further, what will you do to improve public transit? Our first respondent for question 3 is Luc Dufour.
Thanks. In terms of the roads portion, what we will continue to do is to spend a larger proportion of our budget than many of other comparator northern cities on capital repairs. We do a lot in Sault Ste. Marie for our roads, and we need to continue those levels of investment to ensure that we don't fall further behind in our infrastructure deficit. In terms of other modes of transportation, we have a significant transportation plan for our public transportation fleet, including hopefully electrification, a new transit terminal that will make that easier, that will allow for barrier-free access to bathroom facilities, as well as the creation of more of a grid that doesn't just rely solely on a single central hub. So by creating the Sault College transfer point and hopefully transfer points in the future, we will be able to drive down the time that it takes to follow routes across the city without having to significantly add to our fleet costs. The other aspect of our public transportation that's really exciting is our on-demand service, which I think should be expanded and rolled out to other days that would allow people an affordable way to order public transit to where they are, to where they directly want to get going to. So I think that's a really exciting new initiative.
Thank you. Next we have Dennis Murphy.
Thank you. Transportation. Getting around the city can be difficult without a car. Some people use public transit to access medical appointments, grocery stores, services, and such more. There is not an affordable grocery store in our downtown core. Even the Dollarama is becoming more expensive, so public transit is needed much more. Public transit can be an issue, especially on some holidays when the bus isn't running. So Plus with the recent route changes in the last couple of years that don't always agree with everybody or work for everyone, what we should do is we probably should discount the public transit for the seniors, maybe run something on the holidays, keep them going that way. We need a stronger public transit system where everybody can access food services that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
Regarding roadways, we do receive as part of council a plan, a master capital plan, and it's really working with the senior management team in prioritizing what roads are going to be worked on next. Certainly in Ward 2, we have a lot of older infrastructure because it's some of the first roads. You know, you take a look at Biggings Avenue, and we were lucky to get consensus to make that one way, which I think has really helped in terms of buses and garbage and that sort of thing. So we do have some aging infrastructure, so it's helping management and working with management to prioritize and also looking for alternative sources and working with our provincial leaders in terms of getting, you know, gas tax incentives and things like that for roadways. We certainly do, I think as a community and as someone, you know, go to other like northern communities, we do deal with a lot of issues, especially in terms of our weather, where it creates issues with roads. So it's really working with the management team and making sure that we get the right infrastructure together. In the downtown, it can be easy to get around, but I think we definitely need to have route maps on the bus stops. We have a lot of students, a lot of newcomers, and it can be very confusing when you don't have route maps on the bus stops. Also with the terminal, it's not accessible in terms of the Association for Disabilities of Ontarians. It's not compliant. So we need to look at how can we make that terminal accessible for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, what will you do to help protect Sault Ste. Marie's natural environment and enhance its recreational opportunities? We begin with Dennis Murphy.
Sault Ste. Marie is a beautiful place. Everybody should know that. And if everybody didn't know that, we'd bring back some tourism. But we have to clean up the downtown area. At any time, you can drive down the road and see a bed with a couch beside it and a couple people sitting in it, which is always fantastic for downtown. So I would say bring back the fall cleanup, bring back the spring cleanup, make one day a month where they pick up garbage. At least the city goes around and picks up garbage, large stoves, couches, whatever it is. The people I've talked to, they'd like to have more money put towards extending the or the hub trail, not the downtown plaza, not moving the mill market, not moving the bus terminal. It's time to put money into Sault Ste. Marie, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
I think in terms of our natural environment and recreational opportunities, it's really about engaging other organizations and working together as a team. Clean North and the Downtown Association did a downtown cleanup. I've also had, when we had the Neighborhood Resource Center on Gore Street, we would do spring and fall cleanups in the alleys. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, that kind of ceased, but definitely that's something that we're still seeing kind of go on just in a very natural sense. We had a group of youth in the James Street area that we were doing youth cleanup, and I helped them get a GFL bin at their youth workers' house. So we are seeing organically that happen. So it's up to us to engage and support in that. In terms of recreation, just having, I think, both the bus to Point Duchesne and Hiawatha is huge. You know, especially when we are recruiting and wanting students from all over our global network to come here, being able to give them that access. And we're really seeing a lot of innovative events happen, such as, you know, mountain bike races, and we just had the large race out at Stokely. So it's really about supporting the tourism initiatives, and we are our own best spokespeople in terms of that. So I think it's our job as council, especially if we're, you know, speaking with other colleagues from other communities, to really promote what we have in terms of nature. But it's definitely in terms of cleanup, there are a lot of great collaborations that we can do.
Thank you. Next is Luc Dufour.
Thank you. One of the first things that I think City Council can do is to continue to lead by example when it comes to environmental stewardship. The city needs to continue to look at expanding electrification of their fleet, their operations, to watch our own emissions locally, as well as to continue to plant the level of trees that we've dedicated to planting and to get rid of as much of our single-use plastic use as we can. In terms of enforcement, the city needs significantly more bylaw officers to enforce more environmental regulation. The city does not have enough bylaw officers. They struggle to keep up with the amount of bylaw complaints that we get currently, and that's an area where we need to continue to invest in bylaw and legal in order to take more of a leadership role in the environment. For recreation, I've been very proud to have supported the kayak docks, the renovation of the waterfront. I think that plays a significant role in Sault Ste. Marie's recreation. And one of the things, if re-elected, that I'd really like to see and would continue to champion is a dedicated fund to derelict property and environmental cleanups. I think the city can take a significant leadership role in helping to clean up some of these properties after they have experienced contamination. And I think that we can do that in a way that positions us as a leader in economic development and in redeveloping those areas as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll invite Algoma University student Nadine Roach to the microphone to ask the next two questions.
And so how will you carry out your allyship and commitment to the urban Indigenous population of Sault Ste. Marie?
Thank you. We begin with Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
One thing that's really, I noticed, and what I'm really, really proud of is that with this council, I think we have really embraced our Indigenous partners, even just from having a land acknowledgement, which never happened. When I became chair of police board, we weren't doing the land acknowledgement, and that's the first thing that I implemented at our board meetings, was that we were doing the land acknowledgement. I think the allyship is something that we have to nurture ourselves by making sure that at all of board and committees levels, and this is the one thing that I'm really concerned with, it's not just that our urban Indigenous populations apply to be on boards and committees. And I think it's up to us to mentor and to make it known that we need them to apply. We need to have that definite cultural interactions in our boards and committees that we're not seeing. You know, I sit on 6 different committees, and I think we have maybe, at Social Equity, we have 1 Indigenous person who's also on the IFC board. So I think it's up to us as council to engage and attract and encourage having more voices around the table that are diverse and definitely in that Indigenous voice. But I have to say, I'm really proud of this council. I'm proud that we engage with our Indigenous folks. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Luc Dufour.
Thanks. One of the first, if not the first, training exercise that I embarked on as a new councillor was on the invitation of Kathy Surratt, who I see here today. I took a whole day of the cultural sensitivity training offered by the IFC. As part of my education at Algoma University, I was very familiar with our painful history here locally with our Indigenous population. And it was a real priority for me to make that an early part of my efforts on City Council to reach out and engage. I've continued to do so. I think that one of the most important things that we can do to ally with our Indigenous partners is in social services. I know that I deeply want, whether it's the Indian Friendship Centre or the many other social services partners that we have that are Indigenous-led, to be really involved in a lot of our homelessness outreach in our community. We share the same clients, like it's the same people who are, we're trying to serve through our homelessness efforts at social services, that people like IFC are also trying to serve, because they are, that is their people. And recognizing that shared effort, I think, is the first step to continuing to work together and to really find a way to collaboratively reach these people for the good of all of our interests. Thank you.
Thanks. Next is Dennis Murphy.
Thank you. I'm not educated on this. I would like to get educated on it. I'd love to find out what your needs are, and and help you get to your goals. Thank you.
Thank you. We go back to Nadine Roach for the following question.
Do to ensure that the administration is implementing continuous improvement techniques and benchmarking of best-in-class municipal practices to ensure accountability to the taxpayer and demonstrate return on taxpayers' investment.
Thank you. For this question, we go first to Luc Dufour.
Thank you. That's a great question, and that's been a big priority of especially the last 2 of our last 4 years with our municipal services review. What the municipal services review does is we were actually able to bring in a third party to review all of our systems, all of the ways that our upper levels of administration handle their workflow, how they work in council resolutions, and what the outputs are and how we're measuring those. That's work that I support and that I will continue to monitor and to help oversee as part of council if re-elected. The other area where I have also tried to drive more accountability to the taxpayer has been as the chairman of the Social Services Administration Board, where a lot of the programs that I've helped to oversee and champion have also been ones that have been either self-funding in nature or ones in which we're getting non-tax revenue in order to help pay for new and extra services to the community. And I think that by trying to design programs directly with that self-funding lens, you do end up just doing much better by the taxpayer rather than going directly to the levy. If you can find other sources of revenue, things like the third-party parking enforcement pilot that I also championed, using that ticket revenue to pay for the enforcement, it keeps the burden off of the city taxpayer and helps our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Dennis Murphy.
Thank you. First and foremost, I think we have to stop outsourcing. There's firms and businesses that can do the exact same thing that a Toronto company can do here, and I think we should spend our money in Sault Ste. Marie. Keep our business here. The role of a city councilor is the taxpayers is a 24-hour job. It's not 9 to 5. It's 7 days a week. Hopefully you get Christmas off, but you never know, right? When a person calls, I believe that it's important in a timely manner to, get back to them. In my case, and with the people I've talked to from door to door, this hasn't been happening in the last 4 years in Ward 2, and I'd like to bring that back to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
Thank you, Nadine. In terms of efficiencies, I think it's up to us as council to take a look at where we can align other organizations. So I brought forth first to the Police Services Board, and then I got approved here to look at alignment between police services administration and what we're doing here at the city in terms of if there's duplication in places for savings. We know the police services budget is really important, and I think it's important that most of that budget goes to actually officers in cars and not necessarily, so I think it's up to us to look where we can find those efficiencies. Saying that, the third-party service review, which was done in 2019, is available on our website, as with all our financials. So if you go under finance, it's all there. And I think it's really about coming back. As someone who's been forever in the nonprofit sector, and I'm looking at Kathy, how many feasibility studies or business plans or sustainability plans that you go through the process and then you don't go back and monitor it. So I think as far as council, I think it's really important for us to go back and monitor those reviews and reports. And certainly on finance committee, you do that in terms of dollars and cents. But I think in looking at outcomes, with the investment, I think that's really important. But it's up to us to look for efficiencies and bring forth those resolutions and ask those hard questions. And that's what I will continue to do.
Thank you. Our seventh and final question for tonight. What will you do to help improve public health and safety in Sault Ste. Marie? We begin with Dennis Murphy.
Thank you. Public health and safety in Sault Ste. Marie. Sault Ste. Marie is not safe anymore. I've talked to a lot of people in Ward 2. They don't want to walk downtown, 10 o'clock in the morning where there's a young lady shooting up. They don't want to see that. We have to take the handcuffs off our police. We have to talk to the province. Start putting people in jail. Start cleaning up the neighborhoods. It's time to come together and declare that we're in a crisis. It's time to call together your emergency management meeting, including our MP and our MPP, to take action to address the numerous problems. There's not enough emergency services to deal with these issues that are 24/7. We need to hire more police. I know there's 4 more police officers being hired right now. We need another 10 maybe. Firefighters. We need at least 4 more firefighters. EMS. I know there's 10 part-time jobs out there right now, but we need full-time. We need people to work. We need people to get out there. We just need to get together as a group and make Sault Ste. Marie safe again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
Back in 2019, through the Downtown Association, there was a group of us, all women, that did a walk through downtown with Constable Emily Cochimilio with the crime prevention through environmental design lens. And we identified quite a few different things, and that's something that the downtown and police continue to work on, especially in communicating that to business owners downtown and that sort of thing. Really about lighting, where people could possibly hide, and that's been an ongoing conversation, an ongoing initiative, which during pandemic was a little bit different, but we're seeing those dialogues open up. I think it's also important for the community to know that at the Algoma leadership table, they are in constant working on with the community safety plan, the drug strategy, and the downtown safety plan via the social equity coordinator, which was an offspring from future SSM. The social equity coordinator now is an employee of DSAB. So those conversations are constantly happening in terms of the recommendations from the strategy. Our community safety and well-being plan encompasses over 40 organizations to have a very fulsome and thorough report, and they are going through all of the deliverables in that. So the work is being done, and I think it's up to us as councillors to be engaged with those community committees and understand the work that is being done. EMS also just brought in a community paramedic program, which will be really dynamic as well.
Thank you. Next is Luc Dufour.
Thank you. I think it's important to preface conversations on this topic by acknowledging that everything that a municipality does for healthcare is done in spite of the fact that healthcare is constitutionally the responsibility of the provincial government that has significantly more resources than a municipality does in order to address the very severe public health care crisis that we are in right now for mental health and addictions. This is the #1 issue for folks, not just in Ward 2, but the citywide. You know, this is probably our most significant economic development issue that we have to deal with as well. And what we can do as municipality is we can double down on the things that are under our legislative purview. And one of those is housing, and how can we really increase the amount of supportive housing that is available for healthcare workers to be on site 24/7 to care for the people who need it most, so that they aren't out on our streets and in other unsafe locations throughout the city in the throes of what is a mental health and addictions crisis. Fundamentally, and we just tabled a really significant plan for where we think that the municipality can do their part to help out, but let there be no mistaking, we still need to hold the province to account to fund the level of services in Sault Ste. Marie that other communities get to have to deal with these issues.
Thank you. At this point, we invite closing remarks from our Ward 2 candidates. And within these closing remarks, I'll invite each candidate to talk a little bit about their leadership style and how they would help ensure good governance on City Council. You each have 2 minutes, and we begin with Lisa Vezeau-Allen.
I bring over 30 years working on boards and committees and understand the value of collaborations and multi-organizational partnerships to make real sustainable change in communities. My career in the nonprofit sector in the multiple director roles that I have held taught me the importance of advocating and clearly identifying needs and being able to communicate solutions to all levels of government. provincial, federal, local, and the private sector. In 2021, I was honored to be one of the Algoma Public Health Champions for my work in food security and employment and skills development training programming with my volunteer activities at Grocer for Good. In my past 4 years on council, I've brought forth motions that were realistic, achievable, and relevant, including examining efficiencies in police and city administration for potential alignment and savings, expanding the successful downtown ambassador pilot into outer neighborhoods, not just downtown core, creating green options for vehicles with potential installation of charging stations for electric cars. And as a city, we were trailblazers with the municipal autism strategy. I continue to be grateful for my colleagues on council and the mayor for their support for this, supporting the work that we did as a committee and as a community, creating this online roadmap for individuals and families. I have and will continue to respond to the needs of my ward and the greater community, and prioritize key concerns such as economic development, affordable housing, homelessness, community safety and infrastructure by continuing my work on important committees and boards. But most importantly, it's about connecting. It's connecting with those individuals and organizations that are doing the work and communicating with them and taking part in supporting them.
Thank you. Next is Luc Dufour.
Thank you. Over the past 4 years, I've brought my skills as a construction project manager to the council table. I've kept myself focused on tangible results and not ideology, reports, or headlines. People in Ward 2 should vote for me based on those results and that leadership style. The initiatives I have helped lead over my time on council have increased services to our community without solely relying on tax increases. We have a self-funding, low-income, affordable homeownership program, the first ever non-tax social housing dividend, which is also helping to preserve housing affordability, and a third-party parking enforcement program that is keeping services up, paying for itself with ticket revenue, while allowing police to focus on the most important community safety issues. The past 4 years have been very ambitious. We have completely rebuilt our homeless shelter system with historic investments from all levels of government. We will soon have 2 newly renovated shelters, added affordable transition units for both men and women, and fair wages for our shelter workers. We have fully renovated Bay Street, approved construction of our first ever downtown park, and a new building for our ever popular Mill Market. If you want to live in a nice, affordable, and modern city, vote for Luc Dufour on October 24th. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next is Dennis Murphy.
Thank you. As I visit Ward 2, voters have told me their voices aren't being heard. There's a big disconnect between our Ward 2 residents and the current councillors. I'm here to listen. I am and will continue to be approachable and will answer your calls. I share your concerns, including raising taxes, out of control spending, a $12 million downtown plaza that is already running behind, city logo, Studio 10 purchase, the bus terminal plans, a homeless and opiate crisis, lack of affordable housing, food security concerns, an increase in crime. Sault Ste. Marie made the top 10 last week, if anybody didn't know, in Canada. Failing infrastructure, lack of police, fire, paramedic resources. We need to make Ward 2 great again and make it our first priority to support our Jamestown, downtown residents and businesses running. Running for Ward 2 is a serious commitment. I have the support of my wife, Michelle, and my 9-year-old daughter, who has been enjoying walking around in Ward 2 with me. As my daughter says, here's my dad's pamphlet, vote for Dennis Murphy for Ward 2. I'm ready to serve you, to problem solve, and to assure that I'll always be respectful with your concerns. I vow to hold myself and the city staff accountable for how your tax dollars are being spent. Those of you who know me know that I say it like it is. I've built my 30-plus year career serving in Sault Ste. Marie customer service industry, building strong relationships. We need leadership now more than ever, as we deal with the crisis that exists within our ward. On Monday, October 24th, I ask you to vote for me and follow my Facebook page, Vote Dennis Murphy for Ward 2, and let's bring common sense back to Sault Ste.
Thank you.
On behalf of Algoma University, the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce, and SooToday, I would like to thank all of our candidates for taking part in this forum. We wish each of you the best of luck in the remaining campaign period. I would also like to thank the partners who presented this evening's forum. SooToday for helping organize the forum, collecting questions from the public, and streaming tonight's event online. Algoma University and the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce for hosting the forum. The students of Algoma University's Political Science and Law and Justice courses for asking the questions tonight. The Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce would also like to extend thanks to North Star Consulting for its ongoing support of the Chamber and for its sponsorship. Thank you to the staff of the Ronald A. Irwin Civic Centre for their help preparing for tonight's forum. And finally, we would like to thank everyone, both here and at home, for joining us. We hope that this discussion has helped better inform you about each of the candidates and their respective platforms. We encourage all eligible voters to exercise their democratic right on October 24th and have their voices heard in Sault Ste. Marie's municipal election. To those of you who are watching from home, we will continue this evening's forum, and the Ward 3 candidates will be joining us at 8 p.m. Until then, thank you.